Once again, hello and welcome back to Father and Sundays, the unexplainable guide to absolutely nothing. This week we're talking about the Loch Ness Monster.
Are we?
Yeah, and it's episode 31.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yep, alright. Stick around if you want to hear more. Oh, that intro was really original, wasn't it? Very different.
I think mixing it up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, because we're starting to get comments like, I can say it for word.
Yeah, it sounded a lot like him then.
I did, didn't I?
If only you were just a little bit more ginger.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we're
how are
talking about
you?
Sam, by the way. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
It's been a while since we did this, isn't it?
It does seem like a little while ago, but, you know, it's only just over a week, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, just always seems a bit longer anyway. But, yeah. Okay, so, anything we need to discuss before we go into the subject matter?
I'm 23.
Oh, yes, did you have a nice birthday?
Yes, I had a nice birthday, thank you.
Good, I'm glad you had a nice birthday,
One
thank
Trivial
you.
Pursuit.
Oh, yeah, well, that was a bit of a fix, to be honest with you.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a fix anyway, but never mind, we won't talk about that.
And we hit 1,000 listens.
Did we really?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty good, isn't it? Any
Yeah.
more sort of new countries that are following us now?
Not necessarily new countries, but Ireland.
Yeah.
They've been listening a
A
lot.
little bit of a spike in
Do you know in
Ireland.
the last 30 days,
Yeah,
we've had the most listens in what country?
Ireland.
The US.
All right, US.
Second place, Ireland.
Ireland.
Third place, UK.
Wow.
So you UK people, need
Up your
to
game. Come on, up your game.
Come on. Come on. But we're talking a bit about the UK today, again-ish, kind of.
We are, and we're sort of heading up north. One of the things, actually, before we get started,
All right.
when we were talking about being British, and I was talking about certain sayings, and as we're heading up to Scotland to talk about the Loch Ness Monster, one of the things I said
was
was,
that?
"Is your cat dead? Is your cat dead?" And we were trying to work out why that would mean your trousers are too short, right? And then I had a revelation. I haven't looked it up, but I had a revelation. I think that probably means because they're at half mast. So basically, because people say, "Oh, your trousers are at half mast," or and it means that they're shorter or not quite reaching the bottom, sort of thing. So I think that's what. And you'd fly a flag at half mast when someone died.
Yeah. They don't do it for everyone who dies, though.
No, and certainly not for cats normally. But
Because otherwise you just always have a flag at half mast.
I think that's probably where that came from, where that derived from. So there you go.
Well, I think I'm glad that you thought that was important to bring up.
Yeah, I don't just say things and then forget about them. I do say everything and forget about it. Anyway, another thing, right, was I didn't look up. I meant to look up how many Garys were in 2019.
You know what? I had to look it up.
Did you?
Yeah.
And how many?
It depends what country you're looking in.
Well, I'd said that I'd already found out about the US, but what you were saying about the UK?
Yeah, it's very minimal.
Ah, that's a cop-out, right? I'm still going to have to look that up. But what I would say, in that episode, that 80s episode...
I think it's 2005, it's like a few hundred.
No, it's going to be a lot more than that. In that episode, it's probably said...
one of the most dying names. There's more other dying names.
No, there probably is, yeah. I said the word significant. Probably more than the amount of people that have named their baby Gary in 2009.
More than people have named their child significant.
Yeah, that's not a very good name anyway. Anyway, Loch Ness.
Loch Ness.
Loch Ness. Come on in. What do you know about Loch Ness?
It's a lake.
Yeah?
Yep.
That's what Loch means?
And it's this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I know. Ness. There is.
That's all you know about it.
Well, it's a lake in Scotland. It's a lake.
Yeah, but I thought you might be able to elaborate a little bit more.
Well, it's got water in it.
Yeah.
Some silt.
Right.
Surrounded by trees.
Okay.
Bit of a forest around it.
Did you know that Loch Ness itself contains more water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined?
I didn't know.
Wow, that was like I didn't know whether you were amazed then or you couldn't believe it or what. Did you know...
It's got less water than the ocean, though, isn't it?
It's 23 miles long. That's 37 kilometres. It's 52 feet above sea level. It has a high peat content. This is well, we'll come to that when we start talking about whether there is a monster, why people don't see it or do see it, and all the rest of it. There's 22 square miles of surface area. It's only the second largest loch, because Loch Lomond is the largest loch. It is.
Have you been on Google again?
I have, and I seem to have done something rather strange. But it's 755 feet deep, which we've talked about. This 126 fathoms. That is right. So the place is immense, and I have been there, so I've seen it. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, and I mean, it's in the Highlands. It's the scenery around it as well is takes your breath away. Literally takes your breath away. But
because people punch you in the stomach when you walk in, don't they?
You go, oh, I can't believe that. Ooh. Yeah, that sort of thing. Anyway, but we've been there, right? I went there on my honeymoon.
I wasn't there. I was invited to your honeymoon.
No, you weren't there. So we went and we stayed. We were staying in Aberdeenshire, and then we took trips out.
Can you
we
say
took
that properly?
Aberdeenshire.
Aberdeen.
Yes. And anyway, we went to the Highlands. We went to Loch Ness, and we went out on a boat with the captain of the boat, Sandy.
What kind of boat?
Just a normal boat, like a motor. No, well, I don't know. It had an engine and whatever. Yeah. It was a little cruiser thing. There was a few of us on there. There was about, 12 of us on there maybe.
All right.
It was in September, but it was a beautiful day. But he talked to us about it, and what was great was if you shut your eyes, it was like having Sean Connery on the boat, because he sounded exactly like Sean Connery.
I've got my eyes shut.
Right, okay. But he talked to us about it, and he didn't sort of labour on the fact that there was definitely something in the loch, but he just talked about the fact that there's so much that people don't know about the loch, and because of the depth and because of the when you go to how it banks down at the sides, there was once sort of chat about whether there'd be caves underneath and all the rest of it.
Once chat.
Well, I think they proved they did. I've watched things where they've done sort of scans, and they couldn't see that there was any sort of
underwater
caves or anything like that. But obviously, over the years, for many, many years, and strangely, in 2019, there was a big increase in sightings. So, way back, I think when I looked, the first person was an Irish monk, St. Columba, was first encountered it in 565.
AD?
Yeah. Anyway, right, so... But
right,
from
I don't know why
on,
you're acting so...
there's been all these different sightings. Obviously, there's been photos, there's been videos...
that wasn't the monk doing the video, though, was it?
No, he didn't have that.
He just
left
acted
that
it out.
Yeah, he had to do it like a charade sort of thing for the rest of the monks. And they don't speak, so that he had to do it as a charade, and they silently applauded him.
All of the monks?
All of the monks. When he went back to the monastery, yeah.
None of the monks spoke?
No, they had a vow of silence.
Not all monks do.
Vow of silence it was. Well, these monks did, right?
Oh, did they? All right.
Purpose of my story.
Do you know them?
No.
How do you know they had a vow of silence?
Because they did, right? Anyway, that's not important, right? What is important is...
Look at it, watch. You're getting
you're
busy this evening.
Yeah, I'm running late. Is these sightings then, right? So they've actually catalogued the sightings in Loch Ness or what is termed as Nessie, as like one humped sightings, two humped sightings, multiple beast
Can we be
sightings,
talking about this in the podcast?
and head and hump sightings and all this sort of thing, right? I mean, people have dedicated. Bizarrely, I remember way back. I wish I could remember this guy's name, but there used to be a program, a bit like the one show now. It used to be nationwide, and it was a similar sort of program.
Bank with them.
Yeah. And basically, it was talking about this guy that had upped and left his job, and he decided he was going to go up to Loch Ness and look for Nessie, right? And I reckon, I can't think, he might be 30 odd years on, might be longer than that. He's still there on the banks of Loch Ness. I think he makes a living out of making little ceramic Nessies or whatever like that. But I watched something more recently, and he's still there doing that, searching for Nessie.
When it's your life goal and it's your life, it's hard to leave it. Because it's like I'm trying to think of a scenario now, because I started to come up with this as if I was about to say something like a story, but then I hadn't actually thought it fully through.
Right.
So when you're out somewhere watching something.
Yep. Yeah, I remember those days.
Like you could be sitting. All right, we've sat in a lake and we watched otters.
Otters?
But they weren't otters. They were
beavers.
Otters pretending to be beavers.
Yes.
We were sitting in the lake watching beavers, the furry kind, and so we were sitting there watching beavers. But you didn't want to leave, just in case you missed something. You don't want to blink just in case you missed it. You don't want to look away just in case you missed it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
it's the same thing with a guy going up to Loch Ness. How annoyed would you be if you're like, I'm gonna sit here until I see Nessie, and then years go by and you still haven't seen Nessie. You're like, right, I'm going back home now. You go home and then someone sees Nessie. How frustrated would you be?
Well, I think, no, definitely, and I think
he's now at a point. He's at a point no return.
But it's the fact of the lack of evidence that people, even the evidence people have, is very. It's very grainy. Bearing in mind the technology.
Much like Bigfoot.
Well, yeah, bearing in mind the technology we've got these days, you'd have thought that, there would have been a picture in high resolution, and it would have been fairly
much like Bigfoot.
Well, the strange thing about Bigfoot, now you said that, and there was a sighting recently of Bigfoot.
Of it doing a poo in a lake.
The pictures that were shown weren't very good, were they?
No.
And yet there was two people kayaking, which I'm guessing they would have had a mobile phone on them. And even if it was a camera, what did they take an old camera out with them? Because any other camera these days would be digital. So the picture you'd have got would have been miles better, wouldn't it? Surely.
You'd think.
Obviously taking into account the surroundings and the sort of
and you freaking
weather.
out, going whoa.
Yeah, no, quite. But then, interestingly, so we went out on this boat on Loch Ness, and I can remember feeling sort of half excited, half quite apprehensive,
spooked.
Well, the thing is, if suddenly something would have appeared, it'd have frightened the life out of you. I mean, as much as you think, oh, that'd be great, I've seen Nessie, it'd be a change of trousers job, wouldn't it?
Well, as long as you got spare trousers.
Exactly.
Did you take spare trousers?
Not on that trip, I didn't. So you can imagine how stressed out I was all the way through.
All right.
In a 90s song, I said it was Saturday lunchtime in the fall, when in fact you were born in the summer. In my defence, there was more things that rhyme with fall than summer, unless it's bummer, which I thought was inappropriate.
Fact check.
Well, with the Loch Ness Monster, it's one of these things that no one knows if it's real or fake. Same with Bigfoot. But with Bigfoot, you might see something, and it's because it's out in the open. It's a bit easier to go, well, All it could be is a bear. All it could be is a bloke in a suit. All it could be is Bigfoot.
Yeah.
With Loch Ness Monster, you never see, like you said, you might see its hump, its lovely monster humps,
Yeah.
and its head and its tail. But there's a lot that's missing. So what else do you think it could be? Like, I've seen theories in the past where potentially Loch Ness Monster could have been an elephant.
Yeah, right. So they've said,
the trunk,
bearing in mind how many years...
like a snorkel.
Yeah, bearing in mind how many years people have cited things, it could have been anything. But they're saying, there could be... there's obviously seals have come into the area. So, I mean, if you were to see one of the bigger seals and saw the back of it in the water...
Seal the singer?
Yeah.
Right.
Then you might think... I'm going crazy, a little crazy, right? Because that's one of his songs. Yeah. Anyway, right. No, so seals. Walruses turn up on everywhere, in all different places.
Everywhere. I saw one walking down the street earlier.
Two of them just walk, yeah. They
were coming back from the train station, weren't they?
More common than they used to be, right? But, so there's all sorts of things like that. And what was it? There's these huge fish as well. And it's really annoying because I can't...
Neon tetras?
No. These, they're really tiny, so don't say that. No, is it sturgeon fish?
Yeah.
So they can grow up to some ridiculous sizes. And they're quiet, and they talk about eels and things like that. And you could get... So I don't know. See, people talk about it being a prehistoric animal. Or at least...
Well, it wouldn't be anymore, though, would it?
But the thing is, I would love it to be real, right? I would love it. Anything like this, I really want it to be true. But when they start talking about it would obviously need to be a number of them, but they're talking sort of 30 to 50 in order for the gene pool to be okay, because obviously
And even with sorry to interrupt, but even with 30 to 50, you've got to think about consistently for about 1,500 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to have a consistent, unless they live for over 100 years each, you've got to think that population is going to be gradually increasing as well.
Yeah.
And I would expect to have gone beyond that 500 AD or whatever it was, and that populations have had to have increased to the point where they'll be having to leave the loch.
Well, the thing is, I've said about whales and things like that, and obviously they...
What, have they got another monster in Wales?
Probably, yeah. But they could be a large aquatic animal.
Or a large bloke.
A large bloke?
Yep.
What do you mean, a large bloke?
Could be a large bloke.
Just a large bloke. So
that goes out onto the lake to sunbathe, floats there.
You don't sunbathe floating in a lake, do you?
You can.
So you think
on his lilo
that people are citing large blokes.
Yep, a large bloke trying to sunbathe on a lilo.
No, I'm not having that. It's not a large bloke. I think we can
Fine,
roll
a large woman.
No. Anyway, it's not the sort of place you...
A family of large people.
If you've ever been there, it's not the sort of place you go out on a lilo, and it'd be quite dangerous, actually. What is weird about
Depends on the lilo.
Is because of the nature of that log and the undercurrents and things like that, even while we were there, you'd be going along in the boat, and obviously you have the wake of the boat, right? But then he'd stop it, and then I believe while we were there at one point, a little way in the distance, but only about sort of 30 yards in the distance, suddenly you've got like a ripple effect, or not a ripple effect, but kind of a wake in itself. And that happens a lot on the loch because of the currents underneath and the rest of that. And obviously, if you're on a boat and it doesn't take much imagination to think something's submerging or something's emerging from the water. And also they showed some experiments about like logs and things like that. Now the gases build up from the algae and everything in the logs, and then the logs come up. And so you could be sitting on a boat or on a bank or something, and suddenly something comes out of the water and then goes back in again. You know, so there's all these sort of weird.
You ever
wonderful.
heard of the ghost ships?
What, in Loch Ness?
Not in Loch Ness,
right?
But the ghost ships that people used to see,
right?
As they were sailing the seven seas, and so it used to essentially look like that. Beyond on the horizon, there was a boat, floating above the water.
Right, not a large bloke.
Not a large bloke, but a large boat.
Yep.
So there's the water line.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a boat above it.
Hello.
A bit above it.
Yep.
Now, for people who weren't in the at that time, wouldn't necessarily have known. You can see why they would go, "Oh my God, there's a ghost ship there,
and it's an optical illusion,
and it's coming towards us." The idea being, I think it's more to do with the slight curvature of the Earth and the way that how the water goes on the horizon.
Yeah,
that quite literally you get this reflection and refraction.
There's a lot of gesticulation going on at the moment.
Testiculation,
gesticulation,
right? And it causes this boat to appear as if it's floating, because it's actually beyond the horizon, but the way the water is kind of carrying that image around. Yeah.
Well, no, I know the phenomena you're talking about.
Yeah.
So a large bloke.
Could this be a large bloke walking along could it be Bigfoot walking along the bank of the loch, and because of the way that you're positioned on the loch, it appears that there's something appearing from the loch.
Wow. Yeah. You should work.
Or a large bloke.
You should get in your car and go and camp up by the side
Just trying to get rid of me.
No. There's particular things about that loch, or specific to lochs, that mean. There was another video that was shown that a guy, it was quite a good video, but it showed this sort of wake going along, and there was no boats or anything. But what they're saying on the loch, when you're in the, obviously when you're in, say, even the estuary or the ocean, a wake gets disturbed by everything else because it's never that still. But in the loch, it's very, very still. So a wake hangs around.
You've said wake a lot now.
Not as much as significantly in the particular episode I was talking about. But the wake hangs around. There you go, have it again. Ages after the boat's disappeared. So like you could be looking at the loch and you could see this bubbling of water. There's no, and you think, well, it's a boat, and you look around, you think there's no boats here. That's got to be something happening.
Like the whale footprint.
Yes, exactly. But what doesn't help it, and it's a bit like, the Bigfoot Kit Kat punching in the face information we found, right?
Yep.
Obviously, the most famous photo that was taken, and even if you go on to any site now, it'll be the first thing you see. For years and years and years, it was as the photo of Nessie, and then obviously that was proved to be a fake. And as soon as that starts, people start doing that. The more you have something like that, the more people want to be the one. I think even Barnum might have been up there trying to catch it, or got some big game hunter to try and catch it, and then he used the footprints that he had on something to try and say, oh, it's been out on the bank and that, because people have seen the Loch Ness Monster inland.
Yes, when he's coming on because he needs to dry off with his beach towel because he's been floating on
big bloke. Yeah.
The big bloke on the lilo.
But I think it was the surgeon's photo, I think it was called, 1934, Robert Kenneth Wilson, I've got it written down, who was a gynaecologist. And I think the fact that he was a gynaecologist, I think there's a joke probably in this, but probably not that I can tell on this particular podcast. But they thought by the bloke who actually put it together then got his mate, who was more credible because he was a doctor, because he was a gynaecologist, to say it was him that took the photo and he saw it, because people were more likely to believe someone like that. But there's
people aren't likely to believe doctors nowadays. Nowadays they go, "You got this," and they go, "Well, I've Googled it, and Google says I've got this."
Exactly, and unfortunately, that is the way of the world these days.
That's why I don't go to a gynecologist anymore.
No,
no,
that is why you go, is it?
What?
I don't know what I said then. I was looking at something else. There's other ones as well.
Were you?
So what are we saying? Are we saying that there is something in there, or there's something in there, but it's not what people perceive it to be? What are you laughing about now?
Just laughing to myself. Something I said.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I'll listen to that back.
Yeah.
But there's.
Or will you?
Oh, probably I will. There's other ones around. I mean, there's even, I think, Morag in Loch Morar. I think
Morag, isn't that someone from Lord of the Rings?
No.
All right.
God, dear.
Sounds like it, though, doesn't it?
There's the Lagerflot worm in Lagerflot in Iceland. I'm sure I've got that right.
That's a big bloke with a lager.
Yeah. Ogopogo, which I think is one of the best names for it, in the Okanagan Lake in Canada.
I've seen one made of Lego in Florida.
Yeah, well, there's a paper mache one or fiberglass one at Loch Ness. You can have your photo taken with. So, Lariosoro in Lake Como in Italy. Champ in Lake Champlain, I think that is, in Canada, in the US. And I saw a documentary on that, and there's some quite good footage there. But again, it's just not clear enough. You know, and when they say things like it was there for about 5 minutes, now in 5 minutes you're going to be able to take quite a few photos of it. And if I was confronted with something like that, I'd just keep taking photos, because you're bound to get a decent one.
Do you think we've got a better picture of a beaver from ages away than people have got of the Loch Ness Monster?
Are you still trying to sell pictures of that beaver?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been telling you about that. You're not allowed to do that. Memphrey at Lake Memphrey Magog in Canada. A lot in Canada. Bessie in Canada. There's a Nahualito.
Bessie's quite a famous one.
In Argentina.
I've heard of Bessie before.
Muso in Colombia. Inkanyamba in South Africa.
Have my own conversation.
Taihoi Tessie. Flathead Lake monster in the Flathead Lake. That's a bit. So they really put some thought into that, didn't they?
Yep.
So, but no, I mean, are we dealing with people that are caught up in the myth of it? There was a study that was done. There was an experiment that was done. And what they did, they took some university students, and some of them were at, or they did it, I think, with just some
this
general...
This is one of your documentaries.
Yeah,
you
general
watched,
public at... they might have been students as well.
Did they give 100 people 100 seconds to
answer?
answer?
Well, if they gave me 100 seconds, I'd never even get to the end of the sentence. Anyway, and they were done this experiment where they had a branch that was coming out of the water, and they got people they didn't tell them, but they were at Loch Ness. They did know they were at Loch Ness. That's the bit they did. They did tell them that bit.
They told them.
They just didn't tell them what they were going to do. Right. So they did an experiment where they had this wood bit come out, the branch come out of the water. Didn't say anything about it, and quite a few people spotted it. Now so I mean, a couple of them said, yeah, it looked like a branch, but some of them said, oh, I'm not sure. It could have been, but it looked like it was moving, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then they did the same experiment at a university campus that just happened to have a lake. And the difference being, at that campus, every single one of them said, well, it was just a stick that came up. But being at Loch Ness, knowing the history of Loch Ness, you see something and immediately it's a natural thing for your brain to go, yes, that looks like, but hang on, remember where you are? Yeah,
it's like
so it invokes that sort of reaction.
It's like if you see an old lady driving a Mercedes down the A127, You go, oh, it's an old lady driving a Mercedes down the A127, a black Mercedes. But you see an old lady driving a black Mercedes in London around Trafalgar Square, then you go, oh, it's the Queen.
What? Where are you getting these things from?
No, it's the same thing.
What? No, she doesn't drive a Mercedes, does she?
Yeah, she does.
She doesn't drive herself that much, does she? Unless she's on the grounds of Balmoral. Did she?
Yeah.
Right.
They all do. Hence the reason Prince Philip had that car accident.
Yeah, but that was wherever, one of their houses.
Yeah, but
anyway,
they can still drive.
Right, yeah, so if you expect to see something, if you are thinking that you might see something, then you could well believe you've seen something.
Like the Queen.
And a fat bloke.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Are you stuck? What to feed the bands? Do the wee angels get on your nerves? Aunt Nessie knows what kiddies need. It's deep fried Yorkshires and a mound of seaweed. Had a tiring day staring at the lock. Your mealtime clock's going tick-tock, tick-tock. To the freezer petal you must go for a bag of Aunt Nessie's deep fried potatoes. No need to stressy, 'cause we've got and Nessie's from Aberdeen to Inverness. It's a monster of a meal. No need to stressy, 'cause we've got and Nessie's from Aberdeen to Inverness. It's a monster of a meal. Aunt Nessie's, made from freshly caught monsters. Responsibly fish may cause temporary numbness, not for human consumption, not to be confused with Aunt Bessie's, which is a very different product.
Game time.
Woohoo! Now on to a game. This feels like more of a normal episode than some of the episodes we've been doing recently.
Yeah, slightly, although I've changed things a little bit here because it's not so much as a game as a discussion.
Oh, so you're just ruining the whole format.
So, discussion time. We should have
we're going through going, well, this is just a normal episode, except Dad's changed the entire format
Look, we have
of the
to
episode.
do this. Now, I just thought...
We have to.
Yeah, we have to mix it up now and again. So what I thought would happen with this one is I'm quite interested in things like Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot and things like that. And when you go into them sort of areas...
Big feet.
Yeah, and them sort of areas, you don't go too far away from them. You start hitting the sort of conspiracy theory. Why these things are there? Who's invented them to distract us? We talked about sort of UFOs and we said, is it that the government are flying these, but it's great for them to think, for us to think they're UFOs.
I've heard some more, about UFOs recently.
What have you heard about UFOs?
It's more about...
large blokes up in the sky?
Yep, and... people believe there might be a whole underwater civilization, and they talk about these tic-tac things being able to move seamlessly between water and air.
Tic-tacs?
Yeah.
What, the little minty...
Yeah, they're tic-tac shaped. And they talk about these things being able to move like really easy between water and air. That would make sense make sense as to why they can move between water and air so easily if there is a whole civilization underwater.
Right. Okay.
Carry on.
Anyway, number one. Right. Now, I think it's quite well known.
Is there a sting?
Oh, sorry, there's a sting.
Yeah, I thought there was.
Play that sting.
Are we lizards? Mermaid lizards? A second gunman on the grassy knoll. Mermaid virus, Miley Cyrus. Everyone loves a conspiracy.
What a great sting, and I'm glad we got it in there.
Yeah, I always forget, don't I? Anyway, number one, I'm going to read a statement and then we can discuss. Walt Disney is cryogenically frozen, but the Disney Corporation does not want this widely known, so they released Frozen so it would hack Google's search algorithm.
Wow.
So I mean, basically, the thing about him being cryogenically frozen... Right? No, the thing about him being cryogenically frozen has been aroring for ages.
Yeah.
For as long as I've known about Disney.
Before you knew about
as long as I've
Disney.
known. But then they said they only released Frozen and Frozen 2, so that when you put in Disney Frozen, the first thing that come up is the films rather than the
it's
actual
a fair point,
factory.
actually. It is a fair point that previously, before this, if you typed in Disney Frozen, you probably would have got a thing about Walt Disney being Frozen.
Yeah.
But now you would get the
But
film.
they're trying to throw people off the scent. So the song...
And they had to do Frozen 2
And
to
if
make
you think
it...
the song's called Let It Go,
What relevance?
well, let it go. Forget about the fact that
Oh, right, okay.
Walt Disney's head's cryogenically frozen in there. Is it just his head or is it all of him? That's the second one. Is it just his head or is it all of him?
Futurama would suggest it's just his head.
Right, we'll go with that. So what do we think?
Well, it's actually quite a clever one, actually, when you actually think about it. But Frozen 2, why would they do Frozen 2? We'll keep it more relevant.
So that people didn't read this
Well,
and think,
'cause eventually people
why would
go-
they do 2 films? It can't be true.
Eventually, people would get to a point with Frozen and it become less relevant, so maybe it'd go up the search engine. So maybe they notice it start going up the search engine again.
So that's really... So every now and again...
We'll get another Frozen film.
Yeah. Okay, so we're saying that's true.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
100%.
100% true. You heard it here. Right, number 2. Finland is a fabricated landmass dreamed up by the Japanese and Soviets during the Cold War. Swedes, Estonians and Russians make up the population. Discuss.
I'm confused. So they're saying it doesn't actually exist at all?
Finland as a country with Finnish people?
Yeah.
No, would that be right?
It would make sense. They're saying, we're finished. We're not actually here.
So that
We've
was
done.
a fabricated landmass dreamed up by the Japanese Soviets during the Cold War, so they could have somewhere that were nearer to Europe or in Europe and that.
So when they say fabricated,
So there's no people. There's no one from Finland. The people that live in Finland are Estonian, Russians, or
Swedish.
Swedes, which seems weird that the Swedes would get in on it.
So hang on. So when you say fabricated, does it mean it never existed, or they've put land there that? Because I've seen satellite
fabricated landmass.
I've seen satellite image.
I think they floated it in. I think that's what they're basically saying. They floated Finland in. It wasn't there before.
What during what war?
The Cold War.
The Cold War.
So basically,
So when the satellites started going up, so they needed to get in quick to be able to show that there
because
was.
as soon as they put the satellites up, they would have noticed it weren't there.
Yeah.
True. Okay.
So you're saying it's real?
Well,
I'm saying no.
you're going to say no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Danish people would know and the Swedish people would know.
Yeah,
Although
that's
the
true.
Swedes are in on
The
it.
Swedes
apparently.
are in on it, aren't they?
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to we'll say we're not sure on that one then.
No, I'm saying it's not true.
Okay, we'll say it's not sure.
All
Number
right.
3. Prince Charles is a vampire. He is related to Vlad the Impaler, and his bloodline is known to suffer from porphyria, people sensitive to sunlight. Discuss.
I've seen him outside.
Yeah. But vampires can be outside, can't they?
Mum's got a photograph of him.
Yeah.
They don't show up in photographs.
Do they not?
No, and they can't go outside.
What, even now?
What, you say modern vampires have,
Yeah.
have developed
I mean,
away?
they may have evolved somewhat for the times. I mean, there was a point where, there was lots of castles everywhere, but now there isn't, is there?
Yeah,
Or
no,
if
there is still a lot of castles everywhere.
There is a lot of castles, but they've got
So
people...
hang on, you'll go back
They've got
on your
little
point.
old ladies sitting in them telling you about furniture. They've not got vampires living in them anymore. Like,
The one up the road doesn't have anyone living in it.
well,
It
Hadley Castle, exactly.
doesn't have even have that old lady.
No, it doesn't have an old lady because there's nothing to really see, is there?
No, there is.
So,
It's a lovely
but
castle.
he is related to Vlad the Impaler. I imagine that is true.
I would say yes.
So he is a vampire.
No, he's not a vampire, but there's potential that he could be related to someone that people believed was a vampire.
Right. Because Vlad the Impaler wasn't necessarily a vampire, but he's who they depict Dracula as being.
Yeah. So my point being is I don't think vampires exist.
Yeah.
Maybe it's another episode. But I don't think vampires exist, but he could be related to someone that people believed was a vampire.
Right.
It's a bit like witches. Witches didn't exist, but some people wanted to believe witches did certain things or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then maybe their child they would think is a witch as well.
I thought witches existed.
They don't.
What do you mean they don't?
Apart from the good witch across the road. Very lovely lady.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure because they're weird. I mean, Prince Andrew doesn't sweat. Isn't that a vampire trait?
I've never heard of that being a vampire trait. I've heard it being a different trait for a different kind of person, but let's not go into
Mind you,
that.
he was in a Pizza Express, wasn't he? So there was probably a lot of garlic around.
Was it Woking?
So that probably isn't right either, is it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's true. Right, number 4. The Titanic didn't actually sink. It was actually a boat called the Olympic.
Right, so they're just saying the Titanic went by a different name.
No, they're saying that the Titanic didn't sink. It was a boat called the Olympic that sunk.
Right. That's not true.
Well, why isn't it true?
Because they've got and recovered the Titanic wreckage.
How do they know it's the Titanic?
Because it's normally with boats, they have the name of the boat written on the side.
Right, okay.
Bit difficult to paint underwater, isn't it? Bit difficult to paint on the new name underwater. It's also very unlikely.
Not impossible.
It's also very unlikely to change the name of a boat.
Is it?
Yep.
Right. So you're definitely sure that's wrong?
Yeah, I'm definitely sure that's wrong.
Okay.
There's a whole film about it.
Okay.
One of your favourite films ever.
To be fair, if that film would have been called Olympic, people would have gone to see it and thought it was about running. And when they'd got there and found out it was about a boat...
there's more than one sport in the Olympics.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, for instance, right? They might have gone there and thought it was
Chariots
about
of
running.
Fire.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there was a bit of swimming in the Titanic, but
there was
not,
a bit of
not
swimming,
Olympic swimming. Anyway, number 5, Apollo
and enough
17.
Space on that door.
What?
And there was enough space on that door.
Apollo 17 was the last mission to the moon, or was it? Apparently, Apollo 18 was sent up, but they encountered aliens, and they were never seen again.
How do they know they encountered aliens if they never saw them to ask?
Maybe they left a note.
Right. Okay.
Right, because you can see things on the moon now.
Yep. You could always see the moon.
No, but you can see actual things on the moon. You can see the stuff that they've left on the moon.
Yeah.
So...
just to clarify, I do believe the moon landings were real.
Yeah.
There was a previous episode.
So who's to say there isn't a note on there saying...
a joke.
If this is the last time we can communicate, we've encountered aliens, this is it.
Right, so... but then I could leave a note saying that in my car and then just leave, and then you'd go, oh my god, he's encountered aliens, would you?
Possibly.
Right. No, it's not true, and it's the last mission to the moon at this moment in time. There will be more.
All right, okay. Bill Gates is making fake snow, which burns instead of melts, which is making all these extreme weather conditions in the US.
Oh, yeah, definitely true.
Yeah, okay.
That's not
Amelia Earhart's plane didn't disappear mysteriously.
Earhart?
Yeah. What did I say?
Earhart.
That's because that's what I've got written down.
All right.
Amelia Earhart, her plane didn't disappear mysteriously. She actually crashed on the island and was on a island, not on the island. I don't know what that was all about.
On an island.
On an island, crashed on an island and was eaten by crabs. 3-foot-long coconut crabs. Discuss.
Yeah, it's plausible. I mean, the plane just disappeared, so it's
where
gone
did it
somewhere.
disappear? I can't remember where it was. They lost contact.
In the air.
Oh, it was in the air.
Yeah, it was in the air.
Probably hit one of those floating large men, large blokes.
Or bird.
Yeah, or a bird. Okay. I mean, 3-foot-long coconut crabs. Is that how long coconut crabs are normally?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Number 8. I don't even know about that one. Number 8. Elizabeth I was a man. The real Elizabeth died as an infant, but they needed to guarantee the royal line, so substituted the girl for a boy. She remained the Virgin Queen for a reason, because she had a winky. Oh.
I doubt that one's real, because they had a boy and a girl. Why, if Elizabeth died as an infant, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'd already had Mary. Yeah? That's right, isn't it? So Henry had Mary, then he had Elizabeth, then he had Edward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Catherine of Aragon had Mary with him. and then Anne Boleyn
had
had
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Yeah. And then the other one had Edward. The one that died.
Or Jane Seymour.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So they had Edward. Edward became king. Edward died.
Yeah.
Mary became queen. Mary died.
Well, she didn't become queen. She was never queen. I think that's another Mary you're thinking about.
No, didn't Mary fight Edward? Wasn't she the one that was against
Mary,
Catholics?
Queen of Scots?
Why are we getting so in depth about this?
I don't
Anyway,
know.
my point being,
Is it true? That's all I
my
want
point
to
being
know.
is, why would they keep up the ruse for so long when they eventually had a boy? When they thought it would have been fine.
That's true. But what if she had a winky?
What if Edward had a winky? What if Edward didn't have a winky?
Because it's like that Blackadder thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's a boy.
And then someone said,
That's not a boy.
without a winky. That's
Anyway,
anyway,
without a winky.
Nighttime is actually fabricated. 75 years ago, the sun shifted, and subsequently, by some bizarre cosmic anomaly, it would always be light, wherever you are on Earth. A combination of hypnosis and subliminal messaging means we are tricked into thinking it's night by an Earth overriding government.
Right. Is this flat earthers saying this? Because if it's a flat earther, I'll let them off and say, if you believe it's a flat earth, then it makes sense to as to why you would think that it was always daytime.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee that it cannot be light on every single part on the earth with just one light source all at once. And I can also say, from experience, going around the earth at a not the same pace, but around a similar pace to as the earth rotates,
Yeah.
light is longer. And
Okay.
then dark is shorter when you go the opposite way. So that suggests that it's also a sphere, and also suggests that it passes differently. It's ludicrous.
Ludicrous?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm going to shut the blinds now because it's very dark in this room. Just
Yeah.
as a proof that it gets to night time. You can turn the light on though if you want.
Right. What about this then? Crocs are actually hollowed out amphibians known as mud devils, found on the east coast of the US. Their Latin name is Cryptocrocodimus, which is where the shoe name is derived.
It's the shoe you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fake. What, having an animal that looks exactly like a shoe.
Right, it happens. You get a animal that looks exactly like a horse.
Yeah.
A horse. No, I meant what I meant to say. No, that's not what I meant. I meant a fish that looks exactly like a horse. A seahorse. Obviously, a horse looks like a horse.
It doesn't look exactly like a horse.
That's a poor example.
And
Sorry.
plus, they're both animals, even if they did.
All right, so we're saying that's not true either.
But if you came across a bird that looked exactly like your glasses,
Yeah. Well,
it's
you
not going to
could
happen,
do.
is it?
They camouflage themselves, don't they?
Do they?
Yeah.
What birds?
Yeah. Nick Knowles is a figment of our imagination. There is
True.
no Nick Knowles. In fact, it is actually two small people, one on the other's shoulders, identical twins, who take it in turns to be the face. BBC found out recently, and that's why he's no longer on DIY SOS.
Is he not on DIY SOS anymore?
No.
Is he
He's
not?
got another programme, yeah. He's not on that anymore.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, to be honest, I haven't seen DIY SOS in a while. I will point out that they've said Nick Knowles doesn't exist. It's two small people on each other's shoulders taking it. That means he does exist, but
Well,
he's
he
not
doesn't,
who you
because
thought he
it's two
was.
small people.
No, because he does
pretending
exist.
to be a fictional character called Nick Knowles. Because they're not both called Nick Knowles, are they?
They could be.
Well, they could be, but they're not. I don't think they are.
So what you're saying is though, is he doesn't exist, but he does exist. He would exist because he is those two people.
Yeah, but those two people are two separate people, identical twins. Could be called Bob and Rob,
Or
right?
Nick and
because that's
Noel.
what Emerson, right? No, but they have taken on the character of Nick Knowles, and Nick Knowles isn't actually a real person; it's a character. And that's what it's saying here. That they just take turns on being on each other's shoulders. And, yeah.
Right. That one's fake. Okay. I've seen him singing.
Right, and the last one, I don't know if we've got time for this.
Yes, we do.
The Queen is a cannibal and eats human flesh and devours livers to extend her life. Discuss.
Oh, no. I've seen her driving around.
In a Mercedes.
But
the thing is, right, she is the longevity there. There is definitely something.
I know people older.
Yeah, but you think about her mother as well.
I never knew her mother.
What, the Queen mother?
Well, I don't remember her, but I never knew her personally.
But she lived to 105 or something like that, didn't she?
No, you're thinking of Auntie Ivy.
No, because she was the same age, wasn't she, as Auntie Ivy?
Dad, I don't remember the Queen Mother being alive.
I'm just saying that she lived for a long while. What
year did the Queen Mother die in?
I'm going to have to look it up if I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, because I can almost guarantee that I would have been not aware of her existence. I wouldn't even have been barely aware of the Queen's existence at that point.
Okay. Well, I'm going to look it up. Right.
I think the latest it could have been in 2003.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Queen the band, Queen Latifah, the Queen Mother.
Yep.
She died 2002.
I said the latest it could have been 2003. There you go.
Right.
Anyway. And her funeral was 2003. Yeah.
Well, I don't know,
because it was when we were going to Florida.
Oh, was
and
it?
Becky went, I thought the Queen Mother was dead, but they keep saying the Queen Mother's coffin.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And she also said,
wasn't she wearing NJs at that time?
I don't know, but she also said this. So this might be where I'm getting confused because this one was in Florida. It says, "Is spinach runny then?"
Yes, that was when there was a crash on the M25, and someone said there's been a spillage on the M25, so there's a lot of traffic there, and she said, is spinach really runny then? Yeah, that was great. She's classic, isn't she? Right, so there's my conspiracy theories. I think we debunked some of them, and some of them we thought were true.
Yeah, like, I can't remember which ones we said were true now. But
just to prove a point here, right?
Lizard people.
3 of those I made up.
Yeah. Nick Knowles.
Yeah, well, yeah, the ones I made up, right, were the twins, small twins, who are Nick Knowles.
Yep. Let me guess.
Go on.
Can you just give a brief title to each one, and I'll say which ones are fake?
Walt Disney, Frozen. Finland. Prince Charles is a vampire. The Titanic. Apollo 17. Bill Gates. Amelia Earhart. Elizabeth I. The Queen. Nick Knowles. Nighttime. And Crocs.
Elizabeth I is another fake one.
Right.
Because it links so well to Blackadder. And also, the third one's a tough one. The third one is... I'm going to go for the earlier ones. I don't think it's the vampire one. I think the vampire one would be something people would say. The Frozen one is too good and I want it to be a real conspiracy theory. And it actually adds up. Because if you've come up with that, that's great. Did you come up with it?
No.
All right.
The 3 that I came up with was Nick Knowles, Nighttime, and the Crocs.
Oh, so the Queen Elizabeth one is...
Queen Elizabeth one is I was just about to say the word legitimate then. I actually researched conspiracy theories and those ones came out.
That's what he does in his spare time.
Oh, it's again, the sheer number of them and the sheer sort of bizarre, ridiculous theories out there. I mean, it's just
what's funny is
crazy people.
Before, well, each people have got their own beliefs and stuff like that.
Some are idiots. Some people who think Nessie's a
bloke,
big bloke, or the lilo.
before we did this, we were talking about things, and I said, yeah, because there's some ones like David Icke and there's lizard people, and you're like, well, I have to take that one out my game.
That was too obvious. So David Icke famously thinks everybody's lizards, and
no, he doesn't think everyone's a lizard.
He thinks we're being controlled by lizards. So it's. Yeah,
like
so
Slovene.
I thought that was too obvious because you'd know that one straight away. But so I think it's interesting to see. I put some really ridiculous ones in there, and yet they sat quite nicely against some of the ones that were...
The Nick Knowles one was the most obvious one.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But yeah, the Frozen one...
He isn't on DIY SOS anymore.
Is he not, though?
No, and I think the rumour was that he got kicked off it because he had done that advert which was playing on it, and you're not allowed to do that. But I don't actually think that was the case, but he's doing another program.
I remember them saying about... I remember that advert because it came off the air quite quickly, that advert,
not
didn't
allowed
it?
to do it, no.
Because he was playing off of being on DIY-SOS on this,
And now he's been replaced by two small people on each other's shoulders in a raincoat.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So is that it then? We at the end of the episode?
That's it.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
We got there in the end, didn't we?
Was it... The time-wise, I tried to hurry up as we were going through it because I knew I had 12 of them. So.
No, it's good. It was good timing. But that should wrap it up for this week then.
Okay, so can I just say...
No.
All right.
Go ahead, go on.
We didn't really come to conclusion. The Loch Ness Monster, does it exist? All right, the monster bit might be a bit of a... Is there something in that lake that people are seeing... Is there something actually living in that lake that people are seeing?
Yeah. Whether it's what they think it is a completely different matter. But
I would totally agree with that. I do think there's something in there that is unusual, something in there that perhaps is a little bit of an anomaly, mutated or something like that.
Like
I do think
big
there's...
mutated bloke.
Yeah, big bloated bloke floating just above the waterline. Because his lilo's popped and he's just whizzed off. Yeah,
that's what happens when he sinks.
That's what they see. Okay.
All right.
Thanks very much for clearing all that out for me.
That's all right. Not a problem. But if you do have any problems, what you can do is you can go onto our website.
Why, have we got a problem page on there?
What a segue. We've got a contact us page where you can leave problems you might have, like complaints. You can leave suggestions. You can leave comments. You can leave ideas, whatever.
To be honest, at this stage, if you just leave, if you just ask about your problems, it don't matter if anything to do with what we do. I mean, it would be still something we can read and comment on.
Yeah, but you can go onto the website. You can do that kind of stuff. On the website as well, you can listen to all of our episodes, but you can also do that on many different platforms like Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, we're there. You also have the ability to go onto our What's New page where we talk about what's going on, and our store, which is still there and you can buy things from if you wish to.
Yeah, there's still loads of, you won't have problems actually getting anything because I think everything's in stock still, isn't it?
Yeah, it will always be that way as long as we've got
certainly
store
will
open.
Be at the moment, will it?
Yeah.
Yep. Because no buggers buying anything.
Well, we buy it.
Yeah, I know we do. That's hardly the point, though, is it? That's not going to help us fund this.
Right. Anyway, but you can also go onto our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, where you can like us, follow us on there. You can share things as well. You can share our page if you so wish to.
Can do it.
You can leave a review on certain platforms of our for our podcast. But yeah, I think I've pretty much covered everything there.
You have. Can I have a Haribo now?
You can have a Haribo once we've finished. But is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, can I have a Haribo now?
All right. Well, in that case, we should go so you can eat some Haribo.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Not sponsored by Haribo.
No. Bye.
Bye.